Okay, welcome to lecture number 21 for signals and systems. In today's class, we will be discussing about multiplication property in details. Multiplication or modulation property. Why it is called modulation property, we will see today. So we said that, for example, if we have a signal x of t, and if its Fourier transform is x of j omega, and then we have another signal that is called, for example, h of t, and if its Fourier transform is h of j omega, then their multiplication in time domain is equals to their convolution in frequency domain, right? We proved this property in previous classes by saying that, for example, if we have y of t, a signal, we call it g of t, a signal, because multiplication is not the response of a LTI systems. For example, we have a signal g of t, which is equal to s of t into p of t, right? Now we know that inverse Fourier transform, or for example, if we want to find g omega, that is equals to, using formula for computing the Fourier transform, which is from minus infinity to infinity, g of t e to the power minus j omega t dt, right? And now this g of t is product of two signals, s of t and p of t. So we can rewrite it as from minus infinity to infinity s of t g of t e to the power minus j omega t dt, right? And sorry, not g of t, this is p of t, right? So we know if we wish to compute the time domain signal p of t, that must be equal to inverse Fourier transform excuse me, from 1 over 2 pi from minus infinity to infinity p of, now we have already used this omega symbol, so I am using phi symbol, e to the power minus, sorry, plus j phi t d phi, right? Now I'm going to put this p of t into this original equation right here. So what would be the final g of omega? G of omega must be equal to from minus infinity to infinity, s of t same, right? Now value of p of t, is 1 over 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity p of phi e to the power j phi t d phi. Then now this p of t, this whole term is value of p of t, now e to the power minus j omega t dt, right? G of omega. Now we wish to compute only, for example, we can rearrange the integral. We want to rearrange these t terms together, so we can write is from minus infinity to infinity p of phi 1 over 2 pi, I take as common, integral s of t e to the power minus j. Now I have to common minus j, so this would be omega minus phi, right, t dt times d phi. Now if you compare this equation with the Fourier transform equation, the omega axis is shifted by phi. So the complete transform can be written as S of omega minus phi p phi t of phi from minus infinity to infinity 1 over 2 phi, right? This is g of omega, right? Now if you see this equation, it may seem similar of minus infinity to infinity x of tau h of t minus tau d tau, right? Now this is phi. You can see instead of tau here is phi, and instead of t we have omega. So if you remember, this is the output response y of t, right? So we can rewrite this convolution as we used to write y of t is equal to x of t convolution with h of t. Now we can write this is p of p of omega p of omega convolution with s of omega, right? 1 over 2 pi is coefficient g omega, right? In last class we discussed this, that in other words we can say the Fourier transform of s of t times p of t, that means the multiplication in time domain is equal to convolution in frequency domain of the signals, right? So there are some signals which are very difficult to be convolved in time domain, but they can easily be multiplication is very difficult in time domain, but in convolution in time frequency domain we can convolve them easily. So we want to take few examples for that. For example, we want to take an example. For example, we have a signal p of t which is equals to cos omega naught t, right? Now we wish to compute the, and we have another signal s of t which has some shape. For example, we don't want to discuss what's the shape of s of t, but these both signals are multiplied in time domain. P of t into s of t, and let's call their product is g of t as we discussed earlier, right? So you know that this function cos omega naught t exists from, it's a periodic function, it exists from minus infinity to infinity. Now multiplying with this another signal is very difficult task, but one other way, another way is to compute the Fourier compute the spectrum of these both signals and then multiply them. Now we wish to compute the Fourier transform of this cos omega naught t. We know that cos omega naught t is equal to 1 upon 2 e to the power j omega naught t plus 1 upon 2 e to the power minus j omega naught t, right? Now remember this thing, and we wish to see that what does these terms means. If you remember, for a periodic signals we computed the Fourier transform x of j omega is equal to 1 over 2 pi, for a x of t, we said that the Fourier transform of a periodic signal is equal to 2 pi delta omega minus omega naught and d omega, right? Go away, right? So if you see now, if you solve it, we know that this delta exists only on 0 index, right? We say that delta of t is, or we can say the area of delta of t is 1 when t is equal to 0, 0 otherwise, right? So look at here now. Now we said delta omega minus omega naught, it must be 1, the area of this value must be 1 when this parenthesis, within the parenthesis we get 0, and when we get within the parenthesis 0 when omega is equal to omega naught, right? So in the result what we are going to get, we would get now 2 pi by 2 pi, I took this 2 pi outside, and integral omega of 0 e to the power, I missed one term, omega naught t, right? E to the power omega naught t d omega, right? When we put omega is equal to omega naught. Now we know that we are integrating with respect to omega. So this term must be considered as multiplication factor. So it would be taken outside, j omega naught t times this whole integral would be 1, right? So x of t for a periodic signal is e to the power j omega naught t, or I can write it again, x of t is equal to e to the power j omega naught t. Now you can see, if you want to plot this signal delta omega minus omega naught on omega axis, that must be somewhere at omega naught, and its amplitude must be 1 in frequency domain, right? So using this property here, we can say that these two signals in frequency domain can be drawn as at omega naught the value of cosine is 1, and at minus omega naught the value of cosine is 1, right? We can write it as p of omega, right? This is the Fourier transform of cos omega naught t, right? Only we got two impulses. And for example, we have the Fourier transform of s of t, that signal look like this one, for example, right? From minus omega 1 to omega 1. This is the Fourier transform of the second signal s of omega, for example, right? Now what we are interested in, we wish to compute the product of these two signals in time domain, and we know if we multiply two signals in time domain, their frequency domain is, if we multiply s of t with p of t, then in frequency domain their spectrum is convoluted, right? S of omega and p of omega are convoluted, and they are scaled over one cycle, right? 1 over 2 pi. Okay, so now when this signal, for example, if we wish to compute the convolution, all we need is we have to flip this signal and shift it towards minus infinity and towards positive infinity. Then we will be getting this signal on these both impulses, right? What would be the result? There would be two results. For example, if you multiply this signal s of omega with this signal, this would be s of omega times delta omega minus omega naught, right? And another, when we have, when g of omega naught, and when g we put minus omega naught, we get s of omega delta omega plus omega naught, right? So the resultant signal would something look like this. At minus omega naught and at plus omega naught, we will get the copies of the s of omega, right? So if you remember S of, and now we have made another assumption that omega naught is greater than omega 1. If you remember S of omega, that signal existed from minus omega 1 to omega 1. This is origin, right? Now what would this value be? This value would be omega naught plus omega 1, and this value would be minus omega naught minus omega 1. What would this value be? This would value be omega minus omega 1 and omega plus omega 1. Right? Now, what is the advantage of this? You can see that this signal existed for up to only omega 1. So this if you assume the value of omega naught is 1, then you can see this signal existed from minus 1 to plus 1, right? But now when you multiplied it with a cosine function, now this signal is shifted in frequency domain. Now the frequency of this signal has been increased, or in other terms, if you remember modulation, we used to say that we superimpose a low frequency signal over a higher frequency signal. Now actually what we are doing, we are modulating this signal, and now when we modulated it, the frequency has been increased. Now this signal is in good shape to be transmitted over the medium, right? Okay, so what I do is I want to open. Now till now what we have done, we have said that j omega is equal to p of omega convolution with s of omega, and this g of omega we plotted that we have now achieved that over minus omega naught the copy of s of omega has been generated, and over omega naught same copy is generated here. For example, we assume that if s of omega was maybe the amplitude of s of omega was a, for example. Now this must be scaled down to what? A by 2, right? Why? Because we know that our p of omega was 1. What was our p of omega? That was equal to 2 pi delta omega minus omega naught. Sorry, only pi, because we had multiplied 1 over 2 pi omega plus omega naught, right? Now when you multiply these two signals and you divide with 1 over 2 pi, then this pi would be cancelled, and just we will remain with 1 over 2, and the value of s of omega at origin is a, so a must be divided by 2. So this signal is scaled down now. Now for example, we have another signal. Now we have modulated in other way, you can say we have modulated this signal. This is omega plus omega 1. This is omega minus omega 1. This is minus omega naught plus omega 1, and this value is minus omega naught omega 1, right? Now we have modulated this signal. Original signal was low frequency signal. Now we have shifted its frequency. You can see this frequency range is higher than this frequency range, right? So now if we wish to compete again, we want to demodulate the signal. That means we want to extract our frequency carry. We want to extract frequency carry information from the carrier. So what we can do is, for example, I say we have another signal r of omega that is equal to convolution of g of omega times p of omega. P of omega was our, if you remember, that was a cosine. So that existed on only two impulses. If you plot them, our p of omega was 1 at minus omega naught, and at omega naught its value was not 1, it was pi, right? Okay. And we have g of omega signal look like at omega naught, its shape was like this, right? At minus omega naught, at plus omega naught, its shape is like this, right? This is origin 0. Now if you convolve these two signals, then what would you get? You flip one signal and then compute the output, right? Now the output of this was maximum a by 2, right? And you remember, if r of omega must be equal to, if you convolve these two signals, that must be equal to g of omega convolution with p of omega, right? Now that must be equal to, from minus infinity to infinity, g of omega p of, for example, phi minus omega d omega, right? Now if you for example shift invert this signal, again you will get, because this is an even signal, you will get impulses on these same axes. If you shift them, you can get duplicate copies at origin, right? At phi equal to origin, for example, at origin you will be getting copies of these both signals, because this impulse is multiplied with both of them. For example, at this value, these impulses will be multiplied. If you shift them, the copies will be duplicated. So at origin, two copies of these signals must be added together. So a by 2 plus a by 2 is again a, right? Now if you keep on shifting this signal to this side, and this impulse goes in this direction, right? This impulse goes in this direction, and this impulse comes here, and when it is multiplied here, we get only a by 2 signal with a by 2 amplitude, right? And same like if we shift this signal to this direction, then this impulse is shifted here, and this impulse multiplied only with this, then we get at omega, we got a by 2 here, right? At omega naught. Now you can see our signal is again at origin. This is omega 1, this is minus omega 1. Now what we can do is, we can use a low pass filter and demodulate this signal, right? And we can find the result of this signal as well. So this is a very beautiful property of Fourier transform multiplication property, that if two signals are very difficult to multiply, to be multiplied in time domain, for example a cosine function, it goes from minus infinity to infinity if it's a periodic signal. Now multiplying this signal with a another signal, for example s of t, is very difficult task, right? But their spectrum can be convolved easily, right? So these signals are very useful in certain times, right? Now what we did is, we just first modulated the signal, and once we got a modulated signal, what we did is, we demodulated the signal and extracted the original information. You might have learned it in many subjects, for example introduction to telecommunication and others, that modulation is superimposing a low frequency signal over a high frequency signal, and demodulation is extracting that information from the carrier, right? Now we can see that we have successfully extracted the information from the carrier. So this is done in this way. Okay. Now for example, let's take another example. We have a system what does it do? It takes input x of t and it is multiplied with a e to the power plus j omega c. This omega c is a carrier, right? It's a high frequency signal. We can if you write its frequency spectrum, that must be equal to delta omega minus omega c, right? Now we don't want to compute it again and again. So this high frequency carrier is multiplied with the signal, and we calculated here, for example y of t, right? We computed the output signal, and now this output signal, we can write this output signal as y of omega, right? And this is x of omega. In time domain, this signal is called x of t. In frequency domain, x of omega. the representation may be changed, but the information contained in both signals are very same, right? So after y of t, what we are willing to do is we want to pass it through a low pass filter from minus omega naught to omega naught. Its value is 1. It's a rectangular function, right? Now after passing it through a low pass filter, what we get is w of t, right? And then finally we want to demodulate this signal, because earlier we multiplied it with e to the power minus j omega ct. Now we want to extract the information from the carrier, and whatever the result is, we call is for example resultant f of t, right? Now for example, we want to see this x of j omega is, for example, the value is like this thing, right? Or for the ease, we don't want to use this symbol. We want to say this x of j omega is this signal, right? It's from minus plus omega 1 to it's a triangular function, right? Now when you multiply this signal with omega ct, we know that this signal, this omega ct, is only 1/8 carrier, right? Impulse is 1. Excuse me. This signal is 1. If this is omega axis, its amplitude is 1 at omega c. So when you convolve this signal, I am dropping only, I am just concerned with the time axis, sorry, omega axis. I am not concerned with the amplitude. What would be the amplitude? So when you multiply this signal, convolve this signal, when you convolve this signal with this signal, the resultant must be equal to, this signal must be now shifted from 0 to omega c. Its origin must be shifted because it's multiplied with a shifted impulse. Now you will get this, right? This is x of omega minus omega naught, right? Omega c, sorry. So this point must be omega plus omega c, and this must be omega minus omega c, right? Now this signal, maybe 0 is somewhere here, right? So this signal is, now you can see this signal was earlier it was at origin, and now this signal is shifted to omega c, right? So this signal is now modulated. Our second part was to pass it through a low pass filter, right? Now when you pass it through a low pass filter, for example, the low pass filter was defined from omega naught to omega, maybe this is omega minus omega naught, this is plus omega naught, right? When you multiply these two signals in frequency domain, then what you get is just this signal, right? From this signal is defined from omega c to sorry, what I did, where is this, must be omega c minus omega 1, this is omega 1, and this must be omega naught, right? Now after passing it through low pass filter, what we wanted to do, we wanted to shift it again. So we want to again convolve it, now this with an impulse function in frequency axis that is available at minus omega c. Now the resultant output must be shifted how many units? omega c units, right? So this signal must be shifted in this direction, right? Now if you multiply means this signal with omega plus omega c, then this must be shifted omega c units. So the origin was earlier at omega naught. For example, if this is omega naught, then the resultant signal now must be minus omega c1. So this, if I draw this signal somewhere here, the output must be shifted on this axis, and this point now must be omega minus omega c, and when you subtract omega c from here, you would get only minus omega 1, right? So resultant signal is this. Now this may be not enough information to extract the original signal, but we get an idea that how this multiplication of signals is done in time domain, and that those signals are convoluted on in the frequency domains, right? So afterwards, for example, now we want to take a very powerful example, we can say, of this modulation property is, for example, we have a signal x of t that is equals to summation k from minus infinity to infinity delta t minus kt, right? If you plot this signal in time domain, this signal must be series of impulses, right, which are defined as 0, t, 2t, 3t, right? Because when this t minus kt is 0, then we get an impulse, right? So for example, if k is 0, then this t must be 0. If k is 1, then this t must be capital T, right? And capital T minus t is 0, right? So this must be a series of impulses, right? Now if you wish to compute the Fourier transform of this equation, then you can see this must be equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity delta t minus kt. Now I'm writing the value of x of t directly, e to the power minus j omega t dt, and we know that the area of this signal must be 1 when t is equal to kt. So replacing those values, we get delta of 0 e to the power minus j omega times kt, right? Now this kt is a constant, so minus j omega kt times 1, the area of impulse is then 1, right? So the total output must be equal to e to the power minus j omega, if I want to write the value of omega, that is equals to 2 pi by t times kt. Now tt is cancelled. What we get is e to the power minus j 2 pi k. Now as the value of k increases or decreases, for example 1, 2, 3, the output is always 1, right? Then the spectrum of this signal must be at omega axis. At 0 omega, the amplitude is 1. At omega equal to 1, the amplitude is 1. At omega is equal to 2 omega, 3 omega, amplitude is 1. Now we can see from here that if we compute the frequency spectrum of an impulse train in frequency domain, we again get a impulse train of we get a series of impulses. So if you compute frequency spectrum of an impulse, you always get impulse in frequency domain and vice versa, right? Okay, so for example, now we got a signal. For example, we got a signal s of omega, and it is defined from minus omega 1 to plus omega 1. This is very important, and we wish to multiply it with x of omega, right? And our x of omega was series of series of impulses, right? So now when you convolve this S of omega with P of omega, then what you get is you get the copies of this signal at every omega, right? Then the resultant signal must be, when you convolve these two signals, you get, for example, at 0 you get this impulse, at omega you get again this impulse, at 2 omega you again get this impulse, at minus omega you get again this impulse, right? And so on. Now one very important thing to mention here is that omega must be greater than or equal to twice of omega 1, right? Why? Because if this omega is not greater than this omega 1, then in this case we have ensured that omega must be greater than or equal to twice of omega. For example, if omega would have not been equal to greater than or equal to 2 omega 1, then what would have happened? These impulses might have overlapped. For example, at omega x equal to 0, this signal may be look like this. At omega, this signal might have overlapped with this signal. At 2 omega, again overlapping, right? Now when you add up these signals, this might have like this value might have like this, come on, this value might have been look like this, right? Now we cannot reconstruct the original signal from this signal, you can see, right? So we always have to make sure that the sampling frequency must be greater than or equal to twice of maximum frequency, right? This is called Nyquist theorem. We will discuss it when we discuss sampling, but we can get the idea from here that if this omega this sampling time, if it is less, if it is not twice, then this omega 1, right, this gap must be greater, right? If it is not greater, then what we do is we end up with a signal with distortion. This distortion is called, when the signals are overlapping, is called aliasing, right? Aliasing is when you don't sample frequency twice of greater than or equal to twice of maximum frequency, your signal in frequency domain overlaps, and when it overlaps, it creates a distortion that is called aliasing, right? And this is an error. We can reconstruct the original signal in time domain by using a low pass filter, and we can extract this sample again. But from here we cannot compute the original signal, right? So this is one of the most beautiful property of Fourier transform. This is called modulation property, right? Now if you remember, we last time we learned how to compute impulse response of the system. We said that if we have an eigenfunction, and if we pass it through the system, we get same eigenfunction with multiplied with some a complex coefficient, and that is our h of j omega. In other way was that if we wish to compute y of j omega, we know that this is in frequency domain. It is multiplied with the impulse, the frequency response of the system is multiplied with the input signal. And if we wish to compute only the frequency response, then what we can do is we can divide output with input, and we can get idea what our system does, right? Now in general we can write that, for example, we got an equation. Let's understand it through an equation. For example, we have equation that d over dt of y of t plus 2 y of t is equal to input, right? Change in output times twice of output is equal to input. So we know that if we have y of t, if its frequency response is y of j omega, for example, I am dropping now j, I am writing only omega, right? We write j here because it's an imaginary spectrum, right? Then dy by dt must be equal to, if you remember, this must be equal to j omega y of j omega, right? If you differentiator, if you remember, we proved this property that if you derivate a signal, then what you get is its amplitude is multiplied with omega times j. Now if you compute its magnitude spectrum, then omega must be multiplied with associated frequency. It works like a high pass filter, and this j is only shift in the angle, that is positive shift of pi by 2, right? We discussed about that. Now, and if we have x of t, we don't know because we don't know the signal. We are talking in general. So we say if it's x of j omega. Now if you replace these values, then we can get here j omega y of omega plus 2y of omega is equal to x of omega, right? Now if I take y of omega common from here, then we get y of omega common from here, then we get 1, sorry, j omega plus 2 is equal to x of omega, right? Now we know that h of omega is equal to output divided by input, right? Then if you by cross multiply these signals, then what you get is y of omega or x of omega 1 upon j omega plus 2, right? So this is the, finally we have h of omega is 1 over j omega plus 2, right? Now if you see this, then we can say that each time whatever frequency of input, our input signal is, that is multiplied with this low pass filter. If you plot it, this, it would be something like this, right? It look like a low pass filter. We have computed it in earlier classes, right? So this signal is always multiplied with this frequency response of the system. Now what does what the system do each time? Whenever we take an input, we always multiply this output. We multiply the input with this particular frequency, this particular response of the system to get the desired output, right? Okay. For example, we have another system, y double dot means the second derivative times 4 dot plus 3y is equal to derivative of the x of t plus 2x. Now I can write directly as j omega square y of omega plus 4 j omega y of omega plus 3 y of omega, then j omega x of omega plus 2x of omega, right? Now if I take y as common from here and x common from here, then what I end up with is j omega plus 2 upon j omega square plus 4 j omega plus 3, right? Right. Now this is equal to our frequency response. If we want to compute impulse response, then we need inverse Fourier transform of h of omega, right? Then how can we achieve this? Because already earlier we have computed many transforms, inverse Fourier transforms, but none of them looks like this. So what we can do is we can use partial fraction to decompose this signal, and this signal must be then equal to j omega plus 3 j omega plus 1, right? If you break this term into j omega plus 3 j omega, then we can achieve this signal, right? And now if you further solve it using partial fraction, j omega plus 3 plus b j omega plus 1, right? And now using partial fraction, if you solve it, then j omega plus 2 must be equal to a j omega plus 1 plus b j omega plus 3, because when you multiply, when you take LCM of this, you multiply this with this and this with this, and then multiply, these both are multiplied, then these terms and this term is cancelled, then we only left with this signal. Now solving it further, j plus 2 is equal to a j omega plus a plus b j omega plus 3b, right? Now comparing coefficients, then we get 2 is equal to a plus 3b, right? And a plus b of this j omega is equal to 1, right? Then we can say that a is equal to 1 minus b from this equation, right? Now substitute this value here, then what we get is 1 minus b plus 3b is equal to 2, right? And now 2b is equal to 1, then b is equal to 1 by 2, right? And putting this value in this equation, you get a is equal to also 1 by 2, because this half is subtracted when you take that half to the next side of the equals. Then what we end up with is 1 over 2, 1 over j omega plus 3 plus 1 over 2, 1 over j omega plus 1, right? H of j omega, right? Now we know, if you remember, that e to the power minus at u of t, if you compute Fourier transform of that signal, that was equal to a plus j omega. Now you can see that the value of a is 1 here and the value of a is 3 here. So the inverse Fourier transform of h of omega is 1 upon 2 e to the power minus t u of t plus 1 upon 2 e to the power minus 3t u of t, right? So we are going to stop it here, and in next class we will continue this discussion, right?